Stay quiet. They're close. It hurts, but I can keep going. All right, lean on me. We move now.
She saved a dying stranger in the forest, not knowing he was a billionaire running from his own brother. A man ran through the bushes. As rain fell in cold, heavy drops, breath tearing from his chest. His fine clothes were ripped. Blood soaked his side. Branches cut his skin as he pushed forward. Behind him, angry voices broke the silence. Search everywhere. One man shouted. He can't be far, another answered. The man stumbled. His legs shook. He hid behind a thick tree, pressing his hand against his wound. His breath was loud. Too loud. He covered his mouth, eyes wide with fear. God, please, he whispered. Save me. Not like this. Not tonight. Footsteps crushed leaves. The assassins moved closer. Come out, a voice barked. You can't hide forever. The man tried to move, but his body failed him. He fell forward. His phone slipped from his hand and smashed on a rock. The light died. He gasped, pain tearing through him. At that same moment, a village girl named Amara walked the narrow forest path with firewood on her back. The rain soaked her wrapper. She heard the noise. Voices. Heavy footsteps. Her heart jumped. She froze. Then she heard a weak gasp. Please, the man breathed, his body shaking. Amara followed the sound. She saw him falling. She rushed forward and caught him before he hit the ground. She pressed his body against the tree and whispered urgently, Be still. Don't breathe loud. They will hear you. The assassin's footsteps passed close. Leaves crushed. Boots scraped the earth. He was here, one said. Check the other side, another replied. Amara held the man tightly. Her heart beat like a drum. The man's lips moved in silent prayer. The footsteps slowly faded. The voices grew distant. The forest became quiet again. The man's strength left him. He sagged in her arms. Thank you, he whispered. Amara bent down, lifted him onto her back, and struggled forward through the rain. Her legs shook, but she did not stop. The forest swallowed their shadows as she carried him away. If you want to know how this poor village girl's kindness changed her life forever, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. This story is just beginning. The video opens not with the village, but with a cold steel and glass skyscraper. Inside, sunlight reflects off polished floors and sharp edges. The city hums far below. Elias Thorne, mid-30s, tall, sharp, wearing a suit worth more than a car, stands by the window. His hands press against the glass as he looks down at the streets like he owns them. Damian, his younger brother, leans against the corner of the office, arms crossed. His jaw is tight. His suit is expensive too, but the arrogance on his face is cheaper than his fabric. Elias, Damian begins, voice calm, controlled. You can't just keep all the shares to yourself. It's our family company. We both built this well. Father built it. But you know what I mean. Elias doesn't turn. He only sighs, a slow, heavy breath. Damian, it's not about what I built or what he built. It's about trust. And frankly, you've been careless. I can't hand over control to someone who can't even manage a simple merger. Damian steps closer, anger simmering beneath the surface. Careless? Elias, don't act like I haven't carried my weight. I've grown this company as much as you have. Don't stand there and lecture me about responsibility. Elias finally turns. His eyes are cold, but not cruel. They are measured, deliberate. This isn't a lecture, Damian. It's a warning. I want you to understand the stakes. This company is more than money, it's legacy. And I won't let greed destroy it. Not even from you. Damian's voice rises, cracking with emotion. Greed? Is that what you think this is? You're acting like I'm the villain in some story. I'm your brother, Elias. We're supposed to trust each other. Elias shakes his head slowly. Trust is earned, Damian. And right now, I'm not sure I can trust you. For a long moment, the office is silent. Only the city hums beneath them. Damian runs a hand through his hair. So that's it. You just leave me here, angry, frustrated, helpless. Elias steps closer, voice soft but firm. No, I leave you with a choice. Change. Prove yourself. Or step aside. That's all I can do. Damian stares at him, mouth open, searching for something, maybe reconciliation, maybe victory. But Elias turns and walks toward the door. Shoulders squared, back straight. Elias. Damian calls again, voice lower this time, almost a whisper. Don't shut me out forever. Elias pauses at the door, glances over his shoulder. No answer. Only the echo of footsteps on marble. He leaves the office. The sunlight cuts across the empty space, sharp and cold, like the decision that now hangs between them. The camera holds on Damian, alone, silent, storm brewing behind his eyes. That night, the mountain road was empty, shrouded in mist and rain. The asphalt gleamed under the pale glow of the moon. Elias Thorne's hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles burned. His luxury car, a sleek black machine worth more than most people's houses, roared through the darkness. Behind him, headlights appeared, cutting through the fog. Too close. Too fast. Not again. Elias muttered under his breath. Rain soaked his hair. His suit clung to his skin. Please, let me make it. The assassin's voices crackled over hidden radio. Calm, cruel. Don't let him escape this time, one said. He can't have gone far. Keep him in sight, another added. Elias swallowed hard, teeth gritting. I won't let them catch me, he whispered to himself, fear twisting in his chest. The road curved sharply. Water splashed across the tires. The car skidded. Elias cursed. No, no, no. Metal screamed. Rubber tore. The wheels slid over loose gravel. His foot slammed on the brake. The car tipped over the edge. Gravity took it without mercy. Glass shattered. The sound of metal crumpling filled the night. Rain poured inside the car, mixing with blood from a wound along his side. Elias groaned, pain ripping through him. He forced his eyes open. The luxury, the wealth, the towers of glass and steel, none of it mattered now. Only survival. Only breath. I can't die here, he muttered, voice hoarse, shaking. God, please. With trembling hands, he crawled from the wreck. Mud clung to his body. Rain drenched him. Branches clawed at his skin. Every movement hurt. Every breath burned. Behind him, boots cracked against wet leaves, echoing, relentless. Move faster, a voice shouted. He can't get away this time. Elias pressed himself against the thick undergrowth. His vision blurred. He coughed, tasting iron in his mouth. He whispered a prayer through the pain. Please, not like this. Not here. I'll do anything, just let me breathe. The assassins shouted again, frustration sharp in their voices. Leaves rustled. Branches snapped. Elias dragged himself deeper into the dense, unforgiving forest. Darkness swallowed him. Rain plastered his hair and face. Each heartbeat was heavy. Each breath a struggle. The world of billions he had commanded, the towers, the boardrooms, the suits, the power, they all shrank to one raw, desperate need. Breathe. I just need air, he gasped. Just, please. The boots behind him echoed louder. The forest closed in. Shadows pressed around him. And in that cold, wet, suffocating night, the man who had everything found himself stripped to the most human of truths. Survival. The morning sun rose slowly over Ogwashi village, painting the mud houses gold. Smoke curled from cooking fires, carrying the smell of yam and roasted corn into the narrow streets. Children ran barefoot on the red earth, laughing, chasing chickens that darted between stalls. Inside a small, weathered hut, Amara moved quietly. Her hands were gentle, careful as she helped her mother, Mama Ifeoma, sit up in bed. Her mother coughed weakly, shivering under the thin blanket. "Here, Mama," Amara whispered, adjusting the blanket around her frail shoulders. "Drink slowly. Don't spill it." She handed her mother a small cup of warm herbal tea, steam curling into the cool morning air. Mama Ifeoma smiled faintly, her eyes tired but filled with love. "Ah, my daughter, you are too kind for this world." Amara shook her head, brushing wet strands of hair from her forehead. "I'm not kind because it is easy, Mama. Life is hard enough. But people should not be hard to each other." Her mother's hand trembled as it rested on Amara's. "My daughter, remember this. Even when the world is cruel, even when it beats you down, do not let your heart become cruel. That is the greatest strength a person can have." Amara nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She looked around their humble hut walls patched with clay. A worn mat on the floor, the small fire pit still smouldering from last night. Poverty surrounded them, pressing in like a heavy fog, but her heart was steady. "Sometimes," she said softly, "I see people shouting at each other in the market, arguing over a few coins. I think, if everyone just showed a little kindness, even the smallest, the world would feel lighter." Mama Ifeoma's eyes glistened. "You are a rare child, Amara. The world will try to harden you, but you must not let it. Always remember who you are, even when it is difficult." Amara leaned down and kissed her mother's forehead. The warmth of the small hut, the smell of tea, and the quiet resilience of the woman she loved made her heart ache in a way that was both gentle and fierce. "I will remember, Mama," she whispered. "No matter what the world throws at me, my heart will stay soft." And in that moment, as the village came alive outside with its chaos, laughter and struggle, Amara's gentleness was not weakness. It was a quiet strength, ready to face any storm the world might send her way. That night, the forest was a dark, dripping world. Rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking leaves, mud, and Amara's thin shawl. She had waited, hoping the storm would pass, hoping the path back to the village would dry even a little. But the rain showed no mercy. Her bundle of firewood weighed heavily on her back, waterlogged, dripping onto the red earth. "I have to go," she whispered to herself, teeth chattering. Her mother would be waiting. Mama Ifeoma's cough had sounded worse that morning, and the small hut would be cold if she didn't return. The forest seemed alive with wind and whispers. Every branch that snapped under her feet made her heart jump. Then she heard it, a sound that froze her blood. A cry, weak, shattered, desperate. "Please, God, please, not like this." Her hands tightened on the firewood. Her legs stopped moving. Fear gripped her. The forest was dangerous at night. She had grown up hearing stories of men who would rob, spirits that would strike, snakes that would coil in wet leaves. But this voice was human, broken, terrified. "Come out. We know you're there. Step out now or die." A voice barked, harsh and commanding, cutting through the rain. Another joined. "Don't think you can hide, Thorn. You're done." The man whimpered. His voice trembled as he muttered prayers through ragged breaths. "God, help me. I can't. Amara's heart raced. She stepped closer, mud sucking at her feet, her shawl heavy and soaked. She saw him slumped against a tree, blood streaking his pale face, soaked clothes clinging to his frame. He wobbled on his knees, about to collapse completely. Without thinking, Amara ran forward. Her hands shot out, catching him before he fell into the mud. Stay still, she whispered fiercely, pressing him against the thick trunk. Do not move. Do not make a sound. They will hear you if you do. He trembled violently, gasping. Please, don't let them. I can't. I've got you, she said, voice low but steady. Just breathe, slowly. I won't let them touch you. The assassins shouted again, close, searching. He's here. Check the south side. He can't be far. Amara pressed her face against his shoulder. Not yet. Not yet. Stay quiet. Listen to my voice, not theirs. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The wind, the rain, the shadows all paused in that moment of suspended terror. Then, slowly, the footsteps faded. The voices grew distant. Leaves rustled far away, and a tense silence settled like a wet blanket over the trees. Elias sagged against her, trembling. His chest heaved, eyes wide, still half in panic. Thank you. I thought. Amara didn't answer. She bent down, gritting her teeth against the mud and rain, and hoisted him onto her back. The firewood bundle shifted, but she adjusted it carefully. Each step through the thick, soaked forest was a struggle, roots and rocks tearing at her bare feet, but she moved steadily, carrying him toward the faint lights of her village, toward safety. With every step, she whispered, Hold on, just a little longer. I've got you. And in that storm-soaked night, with fear echoing in the trees, Amara became the only barrier between a dying man and the merciless hunters behind him, her courage shining brighter than any lightning that split the sky. Amara's hut was small, dark, and fragrant with the smell of burning firewood and crushed herbs. The rain had stopped outside, but the forest's dampness clung to the walls and floor. Elias lay on a thin mat, shivering, pale and unconscious. Blood had dried in patches on his clothes and skin. Amara knelt beside him, her hands gentle but steady. She poured warm water into a small bowl, the steam curling into the cool air, and added crushed leaves and roots her mother had taught her to use for healing. Easy now, she whispered, dipping a cloth into the mixture. She pressed it to his cuts, gently cleaning away dirt, blood, and grime. It will sting a little, but it will help. Stay with me, Elias. You'll be okay. The mat soaked under her careful work, but she paid no attention. Every movement was slow, deliberate, guided by fear and hope in equal measure. She hummed a quiet tune to calm herself, to calm the storm that raged in her chest, her heart tight with worry. Hours passed. The fire flickered. Outside, the forest had gone silent. Elias did not move. He did not wake. Days passed the same way, Amara sitting by him, changing the water, applying herbs, murmuring encouragement. Please be strong, she said quietly, more to herself than him. Please live. I can't lose you here. She carried water from the stream, washed his clothing, wrapped his wounds as best she could. She whispered stories of the village to him, of her mother, of children running barefoot through red mud, of the small joys she had known despite the hardships. And then, one morning, his eyes flickered open. The pain in his gaze was sharp, his arms twitched, his legs refused to move. He groaned. I can't. His voice was weak, cracked. My legs, they... Amara leaned close, brushing wet strands of hair from his face. Take your time. Don't move yet. The herbs are helping. The water, you're healing. I can't even, he whispered, frustration and fear mingling in his voice. Yes, you can, she said firmly, though her own heart quaked. One breath at a time. One moment at a time. I'm here. You are not alone. He closed his eyes, letting the warmth of her presence seep into him. She stayed by his side, holding his hand, murmuring comfort, brushing away the wet tangles of hair. Outside, the forest whispered, but inside, the small hut held only hope, care, and the quiet courage of a village girl who refused to let the man before her die. And in that moment, Elias, who had known the world of millions, felt for the first time in days a fragile, precious thing he had almost lost. Safety. The fire crackled softly in the small hut, casting flickering shadows over the clay walls. The smell of damp earth mixed with herbs and wood smoke. Elias lay propped against a bundle of blankets, his body still weak, his clothes soaked and torn, but his eyes now carried a spark curiosity, fear, and gratitude tangled together. He cleared his throat. What is your name? His voice was rough, ragged, still weak from days of unconsciousness. Amara looked at him, brushing damp strands of hair from her face. Her eyes were tired, lined with worry, but they held a quiet strength. Amara, she said softly. Amara Nwasu. Amara, he repeated, struggling to sit upright. A beautiful name. For someone who saved my life. She shook her head, a small, weary smile forming on her lips. It was nothing. Anyone would have tried. I couldn't leave you there. No, he whispered, voice trembling. Not everyone. You risked yourself. You carried me through the forest. I should have died out there. But you, his voice broke. You saved me. Amara lowered her gaze. I have a sick mother at home. She depends on me. I couldn't leave a dying man, even if it meant trouble for myself. She paused. Some people in the village, they don't understand kindness like that. They think everyone looks for a reward. Elias swallowed, looking down at his hands. I know what it means to be betrayed, he said slowly, each word heavy. Someone I trusted, someone I called family, tried to destroy me, take everything from me, my company, my home, even my own life. He clenched his hands, wincing at the aches. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. Amara's eyes softened. She reached out, brushing a damp lock of hair from his forehead. I'm sorry, she whispered. But maybe the hurt teaches us something, even if it doesn't break us completely. Elias looked at her, studying her face, the worn edges of her hands, the gentle determination in her eyes, the way she spoke, as if nothing else mattered but the life before her. You've had a hard life too, haven't you? She nodded slowly. Yes, life in the village, it's hard. Some days there is food, some days there isn't. Some people see you. Some people ignore you. Sometimes they treat you like you don't exist. But I try to be kind anyway. Even when the world is cruel. Elias leaned back, letting the words settle. You have courage, he said quietly. I've lived surrounded by power and money, and I've never seen courage like yours. Not like this. Not this pure. Amara shook her head. Courage, I call it. Necessity. My mother is sick. My neighbors don't care. I do what I must. That's all. And kindness is free. It costs nothing, and yet it can save someone's life. Like it saved yours. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of her presence fill the void that had been empty in his heart for months. Then, After a pause, he asked, voice soft, almost shy, "Tell me your story. Tell me what it's like to live like this. In the village, in poverty. I want to understand." Amara's eyes flickered to the fire, shadows dancing across her face. "Where do I begin?" she murmured. "I wake before dawn. I fetch water from the stream, carry firewood for cooking, help my mother get dressed, fed, bathed. Then I go to the market to sell vegetables. Most people bargain too hard. Some insult me for being poor. Some treat me kindly. But it is rare. I walk long paths, often hungry myself, just to make sure my mother has something to eat." She paused, swallowing, her voice trembling. "I've learned that no one owes you kindness. You must give it, even when the world has none to offer." Elias's chest tightened. He reached out slowly, touching her hand. I never knew someone could live with such resilience. You have nothing, and yet you carry more than most people with everything have." Amara shook her head. "No, I carry nothing, only hope. And sometimes prayers. I pray that tomorrow will be better. I pray that I can protect my mother. I pray that, if I meet someone in trouble, I do the right thing." Elias's eyes filled with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Humility. "You saved me," he whispered, voice thick. "And yet, I have money, power, the world at my feet. And I feel nothing compared to this. Nothing compared to your life." She smiled faintly. "The world does not measure worth by money. Worth is measured by the courage to act when it is hardest. You were in danger, you were dying. I just did what was right." They fell into silence, listening to the sounds outside. A dog barking faintly, the wind through the palms, the soft murmur of distant voices preparing for dawn. After a while, Elias spoke again, quieter this time. "Amara, do you ever wonder what it would be like to leave the village, to see the world?" She shrugged. "Sometimes, but this is home. I cannot abandon it. And the world is cruel. I survive because I stay here, because I do what must be done." He nodded, understanding, but sadness lingered in his eyes. I've lived among towers and power, contracts and boardrooms. I've seen greed and betrayal. I've trusted people, and they tried to destroy me. Sometimes, I wonder if kindness even exists anywhere in the world." Amara reached out, taking his hand firmly. "It does. Sometimes it's hidden. Sometimes it's fragile. But it is there. You found it tonight, and maybe it found you for a reason." Elias closed his eyes again. The warmth of the small fire, the quiet strength of Amara, and the simple hum of the village beyond the hut walls wrapped around him like a blanket. For the first time in months, maybe years, he felt a fragile, delicate thing he had almost forgotten. "Peace. Tell me more about your village," he murmured, voice soft. "About the children, the market, your mother, everything. I want to see it through your eyes." Amara smiled, settling closer to the fire, beginning her story in detail. The red clay paths, the barefoot children, the smoke rising from cooking fires, the sound of drums from distant celebrations, the laughter and gossip of women in the market. And as she spoke, Elias listened, fully and without interruption, letting himself be transported into a world he had never imagined. A world of simplicity, struggle, courage, and warmth. For the first time in his life, surrounded by poverty yet enveloped in humanity, he felt whole. The city never slept. Towering buildings of glass and steel reflected the neon lights like mirrors catching fire. Cars honked below. The hum of life pulsed through the streets. Indifferent to human drama. Indifferent to betrayal. High above it all, in the top floor of a skyscraper, Damian Thorne sat behind a massive mahogany desk. The city lights painted his face in cold, harsh lines. His suit was perfect, his tie sharp, but his eyes burned with a fire that no luxury could temper. He stared at the empty chair across from him. Elias's chair. The chair that once held the brother he had hated, feared, and now thought he had destroyed. He's gone, Damian muttered, slamming his fist lightly on the desk. The sound echoed in the large, sterile office. Finally, everything will be mine. Everything. All of it. A secretary stepped nervously into the office. Sir, the press is waiting for your statement about the accident. Damian's lips twisted into a practiced frown. Yes. Show sadness. Say the right words. Say that I grieve my brother. That the company mourns a great loss. He leaned back, eyes narrowing, and let a cold smile creep across his face the moment she left. No one suspects, he whispered to himself. No one knows, but soon the company will belong to me. Every share, every asset, every decision. He leaned forward, his hands steepled together, and stared out at the city below. He trusted me. He thought I loved him. He believed I would protect him. Ha! His laugh was low, sharp, bitter. I protected nothing but my ambition. And now the throne is mine. He walked to the window, pressing his hands against the glass. The lights of the city flickered in his eyes like stars mocking him. They'll never see it coming. The world will see a grieving brother. The world will see loyalty. And in private, he turned slightly, his smile widening, almost feral. In private, I celebrate. He paused, thinking of Elias crawling through the forest, weak, alone, desperate. Damian's chest tightened with a twisted thrill. I sent them, the assassins. My own hands, but invisible. No one will know it was me. He picked up a crystal glass, swirled the dark liquid inside, and sipped slowly. Everything I wanted, everything I needed, will be mine. And when he is gone, truly gone, nothing, no one, will stop me. His phone buzzed. A message from one of the assassins. Target escaped. We are close. No mistakes this time. Damian's eyes gleamed. Close? Close means nothing. I will finish this. I will take everything. And the world will never guess that the man they mourned is still alive. That he still breathes. He set the phone down, staring at the city. The lights twinkled, beautiful, unaware. And in that cold, perfect office, Damian Thorne, billionaire heir, grieved in public and plotted in private, smiling at a future built on betrayal, ambition, and the blood of his own brother. Note all the characters are blacks. Amara is 27 years old and beautiful. She wears a red revealing silky gown. The man she saved, Kingsley, is handsome and very rich man. Amara's mother is 45 years. The forest was heavy with mist, and the wind whispered through the leaves like secrets being carried from tree to tree. Outside the small hut, shadows moved fleeting, cautious, deliberate. The assassins were searching the forest villages, methodically checking every path, every hut, every faint light. Their footsteps were muffled but purposeful. Inside, Elias sat on the thin mat, still weak, his clothes damp, the fire flickering between them. Amara moved quietly, fetching fresh water and tending to his wounds, the tension in the air pressing on them both. He watched her for a long moment, the weight of truth pressing against his chest. His voice was low, hesitant, almost afraid to speak. Amara, there's something you should know. She looked at him, hands pausing mid-motion. What is it? He took a deep breath. The firelight reflected in his eyes, revealing the exhaustion, the fear, and the gravity of what he had lived through. I am not just a traveler. I am a billionaire. My brother, my own brother. He tried to kill me, to take the company. Everything I had, everything we built. He shook his head slowly. He wanted it all, and he sent men, assassins, to finish me. Amara froze. Her hands tightened around the water pot. The words sank into the small hut like stones. She felt a weight she could not name: smallness, disbelief, a strange awe. She stared at the man before her, the blood on his hands, the bruises on his face, the exhaustion in his eyes. And yet, he spoke of billions, of power, of a life so far from her own that it seemed impossible to exist in the same world. She swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. So, you're so rich, and you're here, in my hut? He met her gaze, a faint, sad smile on his lips. Yes, and yet here, in your hut, I feel safer than I have in months. Safer than I felt in any mansion or office. You saved me. You gave me life when I had none. Amara's lips parted slightly. She looked down at the fire, suddenly aware of the simple walls, the thin mats, the small flames flickering between them. Her heart felt too small for the enormity of what he had said. Softly, almost hesitantly, she asked, "So, when you leave, will you forget me? Will you forget this village?" His eyes darkened with emotion. He reached for her hand, holding it gently, reverently. "No," he said, voice low, steady. "I will never forget. Never. I will never forget the girl who gave me life when I had none. The girl who risked everything to save a stranger. You. You changed my world, Amara, and I will carry that with me. Always." She looked up at him, tears pricking her eyes. "Even if I'm nothing compared to your world. You're everything," he said softly. "Here, in this small hut, in this village, you are everything that matters. You are life, courage, kindness. You are the only reason I am alive to speak these words." The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. The fire crackled. In that moment, the fear outside, the assassins, the danger, the world beyond the trees faded. There was only the quiet, the truth, and the fragile, tender connection growing between them. Amara's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She wanted to speak, to ask more, to touch the impossible reality of a world she had never known. But all she could do was sit there, small, humbled, and amazed at the man who had trusted her with his life, and with his heart. Night had fallen again over the village, and the air was thick with mist and tension. The forest around the small hut seemed quieter than usual, the usual chorus of crickets and frogs replaced by an uneasy hush. Amara's hut was dark except for the flickering fire. Elias sat wrapped in blankets, still weak, listening to the forest. He had sensed it, something shifting, the feeling of eyes watching, footsteps too calculated to be animals. "They're close," he whispered, voice low but urgent. His hand tightened around hers. "Amara, they've found their way here. The assassins. They're near." Her eyes widened, fear washing over her like cold rain. "Here? In the village? But how? The paths, they don't know this place." "They've been searching," Elias said, his voice trembling slightly. "They know I could have fled here. They're thorough. They will check every hut, every corner." Outside, a branch snapped sharply. Amara froze. The sound of heavy boots followed, crunching on the wet earth. Careful, methodical. Fear coiled in her chest. "Amara," Elias whispered, voice hoarse. "Stay calm. Don't let them see you panic. They'll come if they sense fear." She nodded, but the trembling in her hands betrayed her. "What? What do we do?" "They'll kill you." Elias shook his head. No, we hide, we wait. We stay quiet. Let the village sleep. Don't draw attention. The wind carried the faint echo of voices, harsh and commanding, cutting through the trees. Check every hut, one barked. He can't have gone far. Amara held her breath. The fire between them flickered. She looked at Elias, at the bruised, battered man who had somehow survived the forest. The crash, the blood, and now, the hunters at their doorstep. Her voice was barely audible. I'm scared. Elias smiled faintly, reaching for her hand. I know. I'm scared too. But we have each other. That is enough. For now, footsteps shifted outside. The villagers stirred in the distance, sensing something wrong. Dogs barked once, then fell silent. Fear spread like wildfire. Mothers called their children inside. Lanterns flickered in windows. The village, usually calm and alive with nighttime sounds, now seemed trapped in a web of dread. Amara tightened her grip on Elias's hand. They're really coming. What if they don't leave? They will, Elias whispered, leaning closer. We just have to be patient. Stay quiet. Stay together. Let them pass. Or at least wait until the moment is ours to act. The footsteps outside slowed, then paused. The forest seemed to hold its breath, and so did Amara. Her heart pounded in her chest like a drum. The wind whispered through the leaves. Somewhere a dog whined. Fear had reached every corner of the village now. Every hut, every street, every soul knew in some instinctive way that danger was near. And inside the small hut, Amara and Elias waited, silent and tense, bound together by the fragile thread of survival, praying the hunters would not discover them. The forest was tense, shadows stretched long under the silver moon, and the faint mist clung to every leaf, every branch. Amara and Elias crouched behind the thick trunks of trees, hearts pounding, ears straining. Then a sound tore through the still night. What? The sound of blades. Helicopter blades. Slicing through the night air. The ground trembled slightly with each heavy thrum. Elias's eyes widened. Amara, that's them. They're here. Amara's hands shook, but she stood, brushing mud from her legs. Is it for us? He nodded. It has to be. Hold on. Through the mist, lights cut across the trees. A helicopter descended slowly, powerful and precise, a machine of metal and authority, carrying men who would bring justice. Shouts echoed. Freeze! Step away from the forest. The assassins scrambled, confusion and fear written on every face. One tried to flee, only to be surrounded instantly. Another dropped his weapon as men in dark uniforms moved like shadows, precise and unstoppable. On the ground, a voice barked. Hands behind your head. Elias's chest heaved, but relief flooded through him. It's over, he whispered. It's really over. Amara exhaled sharply, stepping closer. They're taking them. Yes, Elias said, watching as the assassins were handcuffed, their weapons collected, their threat ended. Justice. Finally, far away, in the city, the news broke like thunder. Damian Thorne, Elias's brother, the man who had plotted betrayal and death, sat in his office, confident that everything was going according to plan. His phone rang. What now? He snapped, irritation flaring. A voice on the line, cold and unyielding. You're under arrest, Mr. Thorne. Your brother is alive. The assassins were captured. You're wanted for conspiracy and attempted murder. Damian froze. His face paled, then twisted into rage. Impossible. This can't be. The line clicked dead. Behind him, the office felt suddenly small, suffocating. Security officers approached with handcuffs. "Sir, you are under arrest. Come with us." His jaw tightened. You'll regret this," he spat. But the officers were firm. He was led away in handcuffs, the power he had hoarded slipping through his fingers like sand. Back in the forest, the helicopter hovered low. A rope ladder dropped. Security men approached Elias, offering a steady arm. "Sir, we've got you. You're safe now." Elias looked at Amara, his eyes wet with gratitude, relief, and awe. "Amara, you saved me. You saved my life. Without you, I would be gone." She shook her head, her hands still trembling. "No, you saved yourself too. You fought, and you survived. I just helped you breathe." The helicopter blades roared louder, and Elias took one last look at the forest, at the small village, at the girl who had given him hope when all hope was gone. The village was quiet again, but the fear and tension lifted, replaced by awe and whispered stories. Justice had come to the forest. The hunters were captured, and the man who betrayed everything was exposed. And high above, in the cold night sky, the helicopter carried Elias toward safety, toward a life he had almost lost, toward a future that Amara had unknowingly shaped with her courage, her heart, and her hands. The helicopter waited at the edge of the forest, its blades slicing through the humid night air. The ground shook faintly with the rhythm of the engines. Smoke and dust curled around its landing skids. Amara stood near the forest's edge, her mother beside her, wrapped in a worn shawl. The wind tugged at Amara's hair. Her heart felt like it was being torn in two, pride and joy, battling fear and sorrow. Elias stepped forward, leaning heavily on the support of the security officer. He looked at Amara, every line of his bruised face softened by gratitude and emotion. His hands reached for hers, gripping them tightly, holding on as if the world depended on it. You saved me," he said, voice low, steady but trembling with feeling. "No matter where I go, no matter what I face, your kindness, it goes with me. Always." Amara's eyes filled with tears. Her voice shook. "Elias, I did what I had to do. Anyone would have tried." He shook his head, a faint, sad smile breaking through the exhaustion. No one else would have risked themselves, would have given me life when everything else was lost. You gave me life, and for that, I am yours, in heart, in memory, always." Her mother touched her shoulder gently, silent, watching the two of them. The firelight from the hut flickered far behind them, the village quiet except for the distant rustle of trees. Amara tried to speak, but no words came. Her chest ached, her lips trembled. She swallowed hard, holding his gaze as if she could imprint this moment in her memory forever. Elias leaned closer, whispering, "I will never forget you, Amara. You are the reason I am still here, and one day I promise, I will return properly. I will not leave you behind." The helicopter's blades roared louder, slicing through the night, stirring leaves and dust, and shaking the ground beneath them. It was time. Amara stepped back, her mother gripping her hand. Tears ran freely down her cheeks. She wanted to run, to hold him longer, to stop him from leaving, but she knew this was the way. Elias squeezed her hands one last time. "Goodbye for now, and thank you for everything," Amara whispered, barely audible. "Goodbye, and be safe." He nodded, letting go, and moved toward the rope ladder. The helicopter rose, powerful, lifting him away from the forest, away from the village, away from her arms. Amara watched, heartbreaking, as the small figure of Elias became smaller and smaller, swallowed by the night sky. The village, once vibrant and alive, seemed to shrink into a distant memory. Tiny houses, flickering fires, and the girl who had changed the course of a man's life forever. She stood frozen, hands still outstretched, feeling the ache of separation, the weight of hope, and the quiet certainty that life had shifted forever. And as the helicopter disappeared into the darkness, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying away the sound of blades and leaving behind only the memory of courage, kindness, and a heart brave enough to save a stranger. The morning sun poured through the glass walls of the skyscraper, reflecting off the polished floors like shards of light. Elias stepped into the lobby, still in his worn travel clothes, but now cleaned, pressed, and crisp. The security guards looked up, surprise flashing across their faces. "Mr. Thorne," one of them exclaimed, stepping forward. We thought you were gone." Elias offered a small, tired smile. "I'm back. Let's get to work." Word spread quickly through the floors of the company. Phones buzzed, emails pinged. People peeked out of offices and conference rooms, whispering and exchanging glances. "Elias, you're back," shouted a junior executive, rushing forward. Everyone thought you were dead." Elias nodded politely, shaking hands, smiling, a mask of composure that hid the fatigue and lingering memories of the forest. "It's good to see everyone again. Thank you for holding things together while I was away." Colleagues clapped, laughter and chatter filling the office. Invitations for meetings poured in, reports to sign, contracts to review, decisions to make. The hum of productivity returned to the building, and Elias, as always, immersed himself in it. Minutes became hours. Hours became days. Conference rooms and boardrooms replaced the quiet nights in the village. Calls with lawyers, accountants, and partners consumed him. He moved through the days like a machine, efficient, precise, unstoppable. "Elias, we need your approval on the merger," a manager said, handing him a thick folder. "Send it to me in my office," he replied, scanning the documents with practiced speed. "I'll review it immediately." Another assistant approached. "Sir, the investors want an update on the international division." "I'm aware. Schedule a meeting for this afternoon," he said, already flipping through his phone. Even his friends, colleagues, and closest allies noticed it. "Elias, you've been so busy," one remarked quietly. "When was the last time you even left the building?" Elias smiled faintly, distracted, a shadow in his eyes he didn't recognize. "Business never stops," he said, though his mind drifted, almost unconsciously, to faraway forests, to small huts and flickering fires. But the days passed, and the hum of city life, the weight of responsibility, the expectations of everyone who depended on him, swept Elias further from the memory of Amara. And in that whirlwind of decisions, contracts, and endless meetings, the girl who had saved his life, the girl who had risked everything for him, faded, unspoken, into the quiet corners of his mind. The city had reclaimed him. The company had reclaimed him. But something deeper, quieter, and far more fragile. His heart waited in the forest, untouched, patient, and still faithful. The village was quiet that morning, the kind of silence that presses on the heart. Smoke curled lazily from small chimneys. Birds called faintly in the distance. But in Amara's small hut, there was no warmth, no comfort, only emptiness. Her mother lay on the mat, frail and still, her chest rising and falling slowly for the last time. Amara knelt beside her, holding her wrinkled hands, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, no, please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You can't leave me. Not now. Not like this." Her mother's eyes opened weakly, and a faint smile touched her lips. Amara, my daughter, you are strong. Stronger than I ever was. Don't let grief harden your heart. Amara shook her head violently, sobs racking her body. I can't. I can't do this alone. Her mother's hand lifted weakly, resting on Amara's cheek. You will find your way. Remember, even when the world is cruel, your heart must remain kind. Then her eyes closed for the last time, and the life that had been Amara's anchor slipped away. Amara screamed, burying her face in her mother's frail hands. Mama, Mama! Her voice carried into the forest, echoing across the village, breaking into the quiet. Neighbors peeked from doorways, some whispering words of condolence, some too shocked to speak. The burial was simple. The village gathered, faces solemn, children silent, women crying quietly. Amara placed a handful of red earth into the shallow grave, the soil clinging to her wet hands. Rest, Mama. I will never forget you, she whispered, voice trembling, choking on grief. I promise. I'll find a better life. I'll survive. She lingered by the grave long after everyone else had left, staring at the small mound of earth, feeling the emptiness settle inside her like a heavy stone. The wind tugged at her hair, whispering through the trees, as if urging her forward. Amara rose slowly, brushing dirt from her hands, her eyes dry but heavy with resolve. I cannot stay here, she murmured to herself. This village, it's all I've known, but it is not enough. I must go. Find a life that is bigger, brighter. Her thoughts drifted, as they always did, to Elias, to the man she had saved, to the promises unspoken, the gratitude unreturned. She had risked everything for him, had given him life when his world was collapsing, and now he had disappeared into the city, swallowed by his wealth, by his world. Why did he forget me? She asked the empty wind, her voice low, almost broken. Didn't he remember the forest? Didn't he remember my hands, my heart? Tears streamed silently down her face as she packed a small bundlesome clothes, a few coins, a keepsake of her mother, and took one last look at the village. The hut seemed smaller now. The path she had walked countless times now foreign, distant. With a deep breath, she stepped onto the path leading away from the village, every step heavy but determined. The red earth beneath her feet, the cries of the birds above, and the whisper of the wind carried her forward. She did not know where she would go. She did not know what she would find. But she knew this. She would survive. She would seek a better life, a greener life, a life that could hold more than grief, more than loss. And in the back of her mind, always, was Elias. Always. The man who had once been her world, the man who had forgotten her so easily, yet whose memory fueled the courage in her heart. She walked on, alone but unbroken. The city was alive, even in the early morning. Cars honked, street vendors shouted, and the air smelled of smoke, exhaust, and bread baking in tiny shops. Amara walked the crowded streets, her small bundles slung over her shoulder, eyes wide at the towering buildings that seemed to scrape the sky. She had left the village behind, determined to find a life that could sustain her, that could give her purpose beyond grief. But the city was harsh. The streets were unforgiving. Every step felt heavy. Every face passing her seemed indifferent, absorbed in its own rush. I need work, she whispered to herself, clutching her bundle tighter. Anything at all. She stopped at the side of a massive building, its glass facade reflecting the sun in blinding shards. People in crisp suits moved past her, their shoes clicking on the marble floors. A small sign near the door caught her eye. Janitorial staff needed. Apply within. Her heart leapt. Could it be this easy? Could this be the chance she had been praying for? She stepped inside, and the cool air of the building hit her like a wave. The lobby was vast, polished to perfection. A receptionist looked up, surprised to see a young woman in worn clothes step forward. "Yes, I'm here about the cleaning job," Amara said, voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. I saw the sign outside." The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "Right, the janitorial position. You'll need to be interviewed. Fill this form." She handed Amara a clipboard with a few sheets. Amara took it carefully, her hands shaking slightly. She filled it out as best she could, trying to remember everything she had learned in the village. How to be patient, how to follow instructions, how to serve with care. A man in a neat suit appeared beside the receptionist. "You must be the candidate," he said, voice polite but firm. "Follow me." Amara followed silently, nerves coiling in her stomach. They walked through long hallways, past glass offices where men and women spoke in hushed tones, typed furiously at computers, and moved with a rhythm she had never known. "Tell me about yourself," the manager asked when they reached the small office. His tone was curious but professional. Amara straightened her back, meeting his gaze. "My name is Amara," she said. I come from a small village. I took care of my sick mother. I know hard work. I know how to be responsible, careful, and respectful. I need a job, and I will give my best. I promise." The man studied her silently for a long moment. Her sincerity was plain in her eyes, the quiet strength in her voice impossible to ignore. "You seem determined," he said finally. "We can use someone like you. Report tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Wear something clean and presentable. Do you understand?" Amara's chest swelled. Relief and disbelief washed over her. "Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. I won't let you down." "Good. We'll see," he said with a small nod. "You're hired. Resume tomorrow." She stepped out of the office, blinking in the sunlight, her heart racing. The city felt less frightening now, the streets less cold. She had found a chance, a small, fragile opening into a life she hoped could grow. A life she hoped could hold her dreams. As she walked back into the crowded streets, her thoughts drifted quietly, inevitably, to Elias. Why haven't you remembered me?" she whispered under her breath. "I saved your life, and yet, you've forgotten me. I will survive, but will you ever return?" Her eyes hardened with determination. "I will make my own way. I will not wait for anyone. I will rise. Even if I have to do it alone." The city roared around her, but for the first time in a long while, Amara felt a flicker of hope in her chest. She had a purpose. She had a plan. And tomorrow, she would step into a new life. The office smelled of polished wood and leather, sharp and intimidating. Amara moved quietly, mop in hand, carrying a bucket of dirty water. The sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating dust motes that danced lazily in the golden beams. She knelt to scrub a stubborn stain near the desk, careful, focused, trying to do her work without drawing attention. Her heart thumped in her chest her first day. She wanted everything to be perfect, wanted to prove that she could survive here, wanted to show that she belonged, even if it was only as a cleaner. The door opened suddenly. A shadow fell across the floor. Before Amara could react, the mop slipped slightly in her hands, and the bucket tilted. A splash. Dirty, brown water shot across the room, drenching the man who had just entered. His crisp suit clung to his body, darkened by the filthy water. His shoes squelched. His tie hung crookly. Elias froze, stunned, the shock in his eyes cutting through the haze of surprise. Then those eyes, sharp, piercing, commanding, rose slowly, locking onto hers. Amara's body froze. Her mouth opened, no words coming at first. Then she knelt, dropping to her knees fully, hands clasped together as if in prayer. "Please, please forgive me, sir," she begged, her voice trembling, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. I didn't know you were coming. I'm so sorry. Please, please, I beg you, don't be angry." She looked up, expecting anger, fury, punishment. But what she saw instead stopped her breath. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Recognition and disbelief. "Amara?" Elias said slowly, his voice low, almost a whisper at first, but sharp enough to make her freeze in place. She froze completely, her eyes wide, heart pounding so violently she thought it might burst. The world around them, shining windows, the sunlight, the furniture, the smell of wet mop and cleaning water blurred. All she could see was him. "Amara?" he repeated, this time louder, his voice carrying the weight of memory, shock, and something unspoken, something raw and impossible. Her hands fell to her sides. Her knees pressed into the floor. She could barely breathe. Elias," she whispered, disbelief and hope mingling so tightly that her chest ached. He stepped closer, shaking his soaked suit slightly, eyes fixed on her. It's you?" he asked, voice trembling now, the edge of anger replaced with emotion she could barely name. Amara's lips trembled. I didn't mean. "You saved me," he said, cutting her off. The words barely audible, as if speaking them aloud made them fragile. "In the forest? You saved me. And now, here you are." Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. I thought you forgot me," she stammered. Elias shook his head slowly, water dripping from his hair onto the polished floor. "How could I forget you, Amara? After everything, after what you did for me, how could I ever forget?" She remained kneeling, frozen, staring at him as memories of the forest, the rain, the fear, and the quiet nights by the fire came flooding back. Her heart beat violently in her chest. The office was silent now, save for the faint drip of water from his soaked suit. Outside, the city hummed, oblivious to the reunion unfolding within these walls. Elias extended a hand slowly, gently, as if afraid she might vanish if he moved too quickly. "Amara, it's really you," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Amara's breath caught. She wanted to leap, to cry, to collapse into relief. But all she could do was stay on her knees, shaking, unable to believe that the man she had saved, the man who had almost forgotten her, was standing there, soaking and looking at her as if nothing else mattered in the world.